गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। आज जब मुइज़ू के मालदीव्स में के पार्लियामेंट के अंदर मुक्का मुक्की हो रहा है, हम इसके बारे में बात करने वाले हैं और यहाँ भारत का क्या ऑप्शन है उसके बारे में चर्चा करेंगे। एंड वेरी गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल esteemed panelists. It's my honor once again to moderate this important session on Maldives. Uh, while there's a lot of action going on in the parliament of Maldives, and parliamentarians are kicking each other, impeachment going on, and all that, we are not here to discuss their parliamentary tactics or their political actions. Yeah, political actions to the extent how they uh, affect the geopolitical situation and India's options. We are here to talk about largely the geopolitical and the geostrategic issues and India's options because Maldives is a important neighbor of ours. How important it is, I'll just mention through a set of slides which I've put together. Look at this island. This island is the island of Gan. We probably many of us have not heard of it. And look at the airport out there. There's an airport out there called Gan, which is not Malé. All of us know Malé has an airport, yes, but Gan also has an airport. Now, where is Gan? Gan is part of the Addu Atoll. And if you look at this map closely, you will see that this Addu Atoll is connected by a roadway all through, right? It is very strategic in nature. The atoll by itself and the bay, I understand, is pretty deep, and it serves as a good base. It is for everyone's information that Gan Island was sought after by USSR when it was there, and at that time in 80s, USSR was prepared to pay $1 million to the Maldives government, right, to put it as a base. Right? If it is so important, where is it? And that enhances the strategic value of Maldives. If I zoom out further, where the red dot is gone, and the set of Maldives is further to the north, and to the south is the Diga Garcia. Same thing. If you look at it zoomed out, you see how strategically that red dot is in the center of the Indian Ocean, right? And if you put the line from north to south on the Chagos archipelago on which Maldives sit, to the north, the yellow dot is Lakshadweep, whose southernmost island is Minicoy, and to the south, the other yellow dot is Diego Garcia. And this atoll sits, Gan and Malay sit on this Chagos archipelago. For those of you who don't understand Chagos archipelago, it's a deep underwater mountain range which has very few passages, and international shipping either from west to east or east to west have to go through these passages, either between the gaps between the Maldives and the Lakshadweep, or the gaps between Diego Garcia and Maldives, that is gone. If I zoom out, I put it in a different thing. You see the shipping lane. Generally, I've drawn it from Babal Mandab to Malacca. It goes absolutely through the Maldives. So that is where the strategic importance lies. And if I look at it, you see a whole lot of dots in this. Let me explain these dots to you. The blue dots, right? Either it's Bombay, Visakhapatnam, Cochin, or Minicoy, or for that matter, Andaman Nicobar and Agaliga are either Indian bases or likely Indian bases. You look at the green dots, Diego Garcia, Djibouti, Oman, and Qatar. These are all bases of USA. Now, in this, you look at the red dots at Djibouti, at Kaikafu, which is likely to come up, Hambantota, Gwadar, and down south in Malay. And if Malay and Gan go to China, what happens? Then you find China is sitting in the middle of all transit points. And if a base comes up here, you can imagine what will be the geostrategic equations all over. And to again put it in perspective, if I zoom out further, these are the lanes, the main lanes. And you see just south of India, where you see the thickest part of these lanes are ocean lanes, sits Maldives. So Maldives has tremendous strategic importance, which is largely understood by most, but not fully. And in this kind of a scenario, you have this political shenanigans going and a swing by Maldives to China and a certain amount of radicalism taking place. It's a complex scenario. Many people have told me, oh, why bother about Maldives? It's such a small place. We should be focused more on China and Pakistan and Red Sea and all that. Forget Maldives and forget Muizzu. It doesn't happen that way. And why it doesn't happen that way, what our options are, and everything, we have three experts to talk about it. I'd request General Vinod Bhatia, sir, your views and your intervention, please. Over to you.
Jai Hind and good evening. Thank you very much, Kasa. Thank you, Dana Short. Thank you, Gautam and Shankar. Thrilled to be on the same panel with Ambassador Gurjeet and my old colleague, Vinod Bhatia. It's a very interesting subject. It's a very current one, something which is bothering uh, not only India but Indians also, is the Maldives situation. Uh, we need to understand why. Need to understand it's not is it Maldives, it's China, it's China and Maldives. Uh, the way I see it unfolding is that Maldives is on the way to becoming another client state of China, much like Pakistan. China's containment of India is going to be even more effective with the base at Maldives. As also Maldives, like you rightly said, gives China, it protects and projects China's interest because 60% of Chinese uh, oil and shipping passes through the strait, and you have given the geography, and a national stance is dictated by the geography. So Maldives is, though very a small state, otherwise it's become very important. Ghana is an old British base also. It's got a proper airfield, unlike Alule. Alule is not much of an airfield. Ghana has got space, unlike Alule, which is the airfield of Mali. Right. So when you talk of, I'll cut it very short. Shankar, we discussed this earlier also on the CASA platform, also on your platform also. Uh, India's China challenge based on the 4D strategy, right? The 4D was defend the LAC, dominate the oceans, tough diplomacy, find to balance other nations, and the last was deny space in the neighborhood. Now, that is, I think, denying space in neighborhood we have not achieved. Something we need to really review is our neighborhood first policy. It really doesn't seem to be working. Whether it is Sri Lanka, to some extent, yes. Maldives, definitely not. And then we come to Bangladesh, we come to Nepal, Bhutan also, the boundary talks are on, Myanmar going the China way. So we really have to look at it because the neighborhood is very important, Sagar and neighborhood world. A region responsible resurgent India is doing very well in the strategic neighborhood, but extended neighborhood. But are we doing so well? Are we protecting our interests in the immediate neighborhood? I don't think so. I think we got to look inwards, and that is one of the options. I think we have to really look inwards and look at hard facts. Soft power can take you somewhere. Hard power can take you somewhere, but smart power, which we need to use. Unlike China, of course, China is using sharp power. And China is going to, it's the China's three strategies are military position, what is trying on the India-China border or the LAC, South China Sea, Taiwan. The second strategy is debt trap, and that is where Maldives has been will face it in the near to midterm, and Sri Lanka. We've seen what happened in Sri Lanka. So what we need to do is as India, there's difference between India and Indians. Indians have reacted emotionally as they always do, which is not a bad thing to do after the tweet by the Maldives ministers and what Maldives has done. But India, I think, has reacted as a government, reacted very responsibly. It's the internal politics what the uh, foreign minister has said, and I think that is the difference we have to make, and we have to project that. And as I see, I recollect on the 3rd of December when he carried out the rescue operation for the Maldivian president, Mr. Gayoom. On the fourth morning, when we rescued him, and the first thing he says, "I want the civil aviation to start landing, the airfield to be open for civil aviation because we cannot stop tourism." And the first aircraft or the first flight we landed at Halule was on the fourth evening at 5 o'clock, right? Because everything depended on tourism. And today, Indian tourism is down by about 17 or 18% as I have the figures. So it is going to hurt the Maldives. There's nothing wrong with it because they should also feel the pain and the consequences, the cost of being this thing. I think 15th March is a very important date. 17th March is the elections for the parliamentary. And as I see it, the president has lost the mayor's seat in Male. So let's see what happens out there while we wait and watch. As far as China is concerned, I think there's very little we can really do at this point of time. The Chinese ship coming there, but looking at the look ahead, what I feel is like you rightly said, you have Gwadar, you have Maldives, you have Humban Tota. The arc is complete actually, and that is where it's a security concern, a geostrategic concern for India. We should not forget that the border agreement for 40 years in China-Pakistan border agreement was signed exactly within 24 hours of President Xi taking over as the Prime Minister on 14th of March. 13th March, he became the President of China, and on the 14th of March, he signed the border agreement. So that is what the thought process of Xi Jinping is, and he has been driving this in his third term now. So we'll have to be very careful about it. Coming down to let me just take a minute more on the India options. We need to stay invested in the people of Maldives, education, uh, medical, and if we have this 77 military personnel, as they call military personnel, they are not military personnel actually. They are basically for the their Coast Guard and for the ANHS who to fly the casualties from one place to other, medical treatment. Let them not be military, let them be civil. So we will have to look at other options also because it's a sovereign country, and if they want India out, so let us come out of it. Let them face the consequences of it. We already know that a child was, he could have been saved, but he was not saved because he was not evacuated on time. So things like that. So we'll have to look at uh, India needs Maldives, but Maldives also needs India. If you look at history, if you, it is not only 1988 or Cactus Maldives we rescued the president. Later on in tsunami, also we were the first responders. We have built a hospital there, which is the India Maldives Friendship Hospital. Halule Airfield itself was built by Engineers India Limited. It was there. JMR was thrown out later on. That's a separate story altogether. If you look at 2014 December of Operation Neer, when the desalination plant in Male was not working, we provided water. So India has to be the first responder, and we should go and IW is very important information. Let's call it information about what you call it. The people of Maldives should know that what we have done. They should know it is not only when they say India out, military out. Maldives should know that India has always come out, whether it's 1952 in Nepal, whether it was Sri Lanka 1987, 88, 89, whether Maldives itself in 1988. We went in, and within third of this November 1988 we went in, and by 17th the major party was out. A detachment was left out there. The request of the president to train the then NSS, which now became the MND, the Maldives National Defense Forces. So I think this has to be put into perspective, and the people of Maldives should know about it. I don't think many people in India know about all this. That India does not have any expansionist ideas. It does not have agenda of expansionism. And whenever we have gone for military aid, we always come out. The the diplomatic military synergy has to be there in this, especially with Maldives. Let us not go overboard and let's not react. Let's not respond the way we, from a feeling of hurt that they are not grateful and all. Why should they be grateful? They're a sovereign nation. If they wanted help, we help them. That's fine, absolutely. That's how it should be. And we should not be a big brother. And but all the same, when we talk of Sagar, we should implement Sagar in letter and spirit and in true spirit. Let's go and help out our region. We want a secure region, and if we want a secure region, we have to take the responsibility of making sure that the region is secure, and as when we need it, we are there for uh, protecting and safeguarding the interests of neighbors. I think I'll finish out here and wait for the next round. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. You made some very relevant and telling points. You spoke of the 4D strategy, which we have discussed earlier. You spoke of a very interesting concept of smart power versus a sharp power of China. And then you also put a very major point which you brought out is India is always out. India is never in. India only goes in for to do a particular task and then comes out. And then we spoke of Saga. I'll get back to you because I'll be more interested in talking of a little amplification from you on the 4D and the smart power and sharp power. But that will be later. So my question to you is this. You spoke of 4D strategy and smart power versus sharp power. If you could kindly elucidate, how do you see this 4D strategy being put into operation smartly in Maldives?
I think that's the key issue. When you talk of smart power, you see, we have to understand Maldivian needs. One, remain invested in the people because we want to look at the not the immediate term, but the near to mid term and the long term. And it is important to stay invested in the people of Maldives. Uh, Continue with what you're doing good for them, medical, education, tourism. But look at the other things. Most of the Maldives is going to go, you know, with the climate change is going to go underwater. So what they're doing is they are all the islands have been created so they're rising the levels to 1 to 2 meters. So where does the cement, the steel, the waste, where does it go from? The two nearest places are Colombo, which is about say 800 kilometers, and Tuticorin, which is about 750, 60 kilometers, right? So what you do is all these things you either make them not available or you put such a cost to them because they cannot get it from China. Well, imagine they try to get everything from China. It will be very, very costly for them. Can they afford it? They'll go under debt, debt, and debt. So that is where I think when you say smart power, look at the economic thing and look at things which are not very visible but which are essential all the same. So Maldives, number of projects are coming in Maldives. Uh, I've seen it in the change. I've seen the changes since the late 1888 onwards. I've been there a couple of times, more than a couple of times rather. And big projects are coming. And where are they sourced from? The resource is sourced from India. That's the closest actually. So let them get it from, if they want to send people to Dubai for medical treatment, let them send. There's no harm in it whatsoever. Why should we bother about it? But we should, when we say smart power, we should look at the essential needs, which does not really come into the limelight with the people, but which hurts the dispensation which is there, which hurts the present government which is anti-India. The present government is anti-India. Let's have a look. They're not pro-China. They're anti-India. There's India out was the campaign. It was not pro-China, right? So they're definitely being pro-China and being anti-India. So we should make sure that this anti-India feeling of the present dispensation is played against them, and they cannot do for the people what they promised. So that is how it's very important when he says India out by 15th of March. Why? Because 17th of March is the elections with the parliament election 17th of March. So he wants to say that he's done that. So let them bear the cost somewhere else. So it's a smart power. It has to be a synergized power of diplomacy, military, economics, information. The time comes into being. And I think that is some place we need to really be very very sharp, very smart, and play and synergize the campaigns. So we have an overall plan, and we executed all these fields. So that is where I think smart power, sharp power, of course, we are not into sharp power. We should not be also. China, of course, sharp power. China doesn't bother with anyone. Sharp power actually means, simply put, in simple terms, is either you're with me or you're against me. Right? That's sharp power. And that's what China has been doing all along. That's the Chinese way. But that's not our way. Our way would be a smart power. Smart power is a mix of these things. When you talk of 4D strategy, when you say deny space to China in the neighborhood, I think that's very important. Honestly, I don't know whether a neighborhood policy, neighborhood first policy, is really uh, working or not. I don't think it's not working. Let's be the way things are. We need to review it. We're going to look inwards also. When you look inwards, uh, in my little experience, I'm not a diplomat. I haven't, but I have visited our neighborhood countries, fortunately all of them. And once you start talking to people, they always feel that we are high on promises, low on delivery. Right? So that perception has to change. That is one. Secondly, the projects which they want, they think that India forces certain projects on them. Of course, we look after national interest. There's no doubt about it. But that is only the security domain. What is there for the public good? Uh, we could actually, we could deliver like we did in Afghanistan. I think Afghanistan is something which could replicate in the neighborhood. Even Taliban today acknowledges that India has done a great job in enlisting the people of Afghanistan. The same thing we should be seen in our neighborhood also. Sri Lanka, of course, realizes it now, and they, there's a similar feeling out there in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh also. I think the BNP started off a India out campaign and learning from the Maldivian things. So this is like a wildfire. If we don't put a stop to it right now, we'll be losing our neighborhood. So denying space in the neighborhood to China is a second stage. I think first we should actually consolidate on what space we already have, and then start. The denial will come later on because as we seem to losing out the space we already had invested for so many years now. So there has to be a rethought, and all elements of national power have to come together. It cannot be only diplomat, it cannot be only economic, it cannot be only commerce, but we should have a focused approach and see how we can maximize our leverages. We have to have leverages, and how can we maximize the leverages without hurting the sentiments of the
Right. Thanks a lot, sir. I think you made some very important points of putting a cost on the Indian aid to Maldives, and you need to hurt the government and not the people. So that whole story needs a lot of fine tuning, whether it's diplomatic, whether it's governmental, whether it's political, or whether it's aid related. And I do agree with you. And what Mr. Gurjit Singh also said, are we doing enough is something which we have to introspect very seriously.